All right, good evening. I've got 6:31. I'm here to call this meeting of the Columbus Common Council regular meeting to order for Tuesday, December 17th, 2019. Pat, could you take a roll call for us?
Present.
Sorry about that. Ryan,
Here.
Traxler,
Here.
Tome,
Here.
Tylen is excused. Reed,
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Thank you. If able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this meeting has been noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances. Next item is to approve the agenda for the evening.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion on the motion? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Next item is correspondence and communications. We have several people signed up this evening. I'll just take them in the order that they signed up. The first one is Mark Krause. Mark, if you could come up and state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Mark Kraus, 735 Hibbard Street in Columbus. Good evening. Tonight, I have a list for the council reasons the property owners on Hibbard Street are opposed to the sidewalk on Hibbard Street. I urge the mayor and the council to review and consider how you're affecting these property owners in decreasing property values, safety, and liability. Hibbard Street is unique in that the street was created in multiple phases, with some of the homes being built in the 20s and some on the hillside area being created and built in the 70s when the teaching college was raised and removed. It has created some very unique properties with very short front yards, homes that back up to the street that do not have access to the street, and homes that are on a hill with a very steep grade. Even in the city's proposed street plan, they have not followed the ordinance guidelines of a 28-foot street and 2 sidewalks, proposing a 24-foot street and 1 sidewalk. One option that would still be considered would be a bike walking lane that would address the concerns of the hill and the ice buildup on the sidewalks too close to the home and lowering the property values of other potential properties. The walking that occurs on Hibbert is very limited. We set up cameras on the street in 3 different locations, supporting the lack of walkers and the expense of a sidewalk that is not needed on the street. On November 27th through the 30th, on Hibbert and Brevity, there were 4 walkers. On November 30th through December 2nd, on Hibbert and Turner Street, there were 2 walkers. And December 6th through the 8th, on Hibbert and Sunset, there were 3 walkers. This averages out to 1 walker per day. I'd be happy to provide an email of all the pictures to the council if you request it. The city of Columbus is in a situation of having an above average number of streets that are in need of replacement or resurfacing. The city needs to prioritize what is important at this time, repairing its streets or putting in a sidewalk to nowhere that connects to no side streets other than Dick Street. The money, the city is planning on spending 50% of the cost of installing a sidewalk on Hibbert Street. This money could be applied to resurfacing another street in need of repair in the city. It is my recommendation the city refocus its priorities and first address the needs to repair its many streets that are below standard before moving on to sidewalks within the city. You cannot deny it makes more sense to spend the city's tax dollars on additional streets to be resurfaced than on a sidewalk that will be connecting to no sidewalks and so few walkers on the sidewalk. And then here is the comments that the different residents on the street.
Thank you, Mark. Up next, we have Ryan Rodenkirk.
Ryan Rodenkirk, 745 Hibbard. Mayor and Council, my name is Ryan Rodenkirk, and I am a homeowner on Hibbard Street. I'm here tonight to voice my displeasure with the sidewalk you're forcing upon us, a pointless project and a waste of money that could be better spent revamping other roads in the city. I can honestly say I'm unimpressed and underwhelmed with the conduct and lack of professionalism of the council. The lack of communication we've received from the very beginning and even to this day is unbelievable. You failed to inform us about this project until a week before the first informational meeting, and then cancel and reschedule last-minute meetings directly related to this project without letting us know, in order to push your own interests through under the rug. That's not the transparency and honesty we would expect from people who are supposed to be representing us. I think if you ask the community what they would prefer to do with the money and resources used on the sidewalk, they would affirm that they prioritize degraded streets that they drive on every day over a sidewalk on a street that no one uses. It seems you have all made a decision based on no one's interests or wants but your own. You couldn't listen to our concerns or you couldn't listen to the concerns of those who live on the street at the last informational meeting without turning red and getting defensive and yelling before we were finished. My last comment is directed towards Mr. Gray. Thank you for considering the impact this would have on the people this will affect the most, the residents of Hibbard. I ask that you reconsider the necessity of the sidewalk on this street. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Up next, I have Betty Mewson.
My name is Betty Mewson. I reside at 110 Greenview Drive, Columbus. Recently, we received our property tax bill. While the print in some areas was the smallest font possible, the increase was not. I noticed that the increase for the City of Columbus was disproportionately higher than the increases for the other taxing entities, that is Columbia County, the school district, and MATC. I believe it was 7.6%. We certainly have not received an increase in services of 7.6%. I called the city to find out why it went up when in the past it has gone down, especially when you see new houses going up and new businesses in the city. I then asked the person who answered the phone who our alderperson was and was told Trina Ward and Jason Thyland. I called Trina, left a message, and haven't heard back, and was given a disconnected phone number for Jason. Called the city back, asked for a different number, and left a message. Again, did not hear back. We are never asked for input from our alder people. We don't even see them campaigning. They're just names on election ballots. I feel that we are getting taxation without representation. The only other comment I have regarding Public Works is that we would have liked to extended the leaf pickup this year a little longer, since the leaves didn't fall as early as most years. I think they extended it a week or two, but that really wasn't long enough, because you can't rake the leaves when they're still on the trees. And so that's the only comments. Anything you can do to improve our representation would be greatly appreciated. I feel very strongly about this. We are getting taxed without representation. Thank you.
Betty. Up next, we have Doug Caldwell.
My name is Doug Caldwell. I reside at 605 Hibbard Street. While I do appreciate that Hibbard Street will be getting a new street next summer, I don't see the need for sidewalks on the street. My wife and I have owned our Hibbard Street property since 1983. That's 36 years. To use the line from the Farmers Insurance commercial, we'd like to think that we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Well, in this case, it's what we haven't seen, and that's people walking on Hibbard Street. And we're not alone in our observations. Our fellow Hibbard Street residents have echoed the same thing, the lack of walkers on Hibbard Street. Mark Krause did provide solid evidence that supports our observations also. I did have a chance to speak to two council people about 2 weeks ago regarding the sidewalk issue. I seemed to get the feeling that they felt that if there were a sidewalk on Hibbard Street, then there would be more pedestrians using it. Well, to me, that's sort of a field of dreams mentality. If you build it, they will come. Well, what if they don't come? Couldn't that money have been spent on other streets in the city that are in need of obvious repair? By constructing sidewalks on Hibbert Street that may or may not be used, you're not only risking the Hibbert Street residents' taxpayer money, you're also risking the entire city of Columbus taxpayer money. I'm hoping that's a risk you're not willing to take. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Doug. And we have John Falk.
Hi, I'm John Falk from 219 Hibbert Street. On the issue of the sidewalk, all right, you narrowed what you planned up to 24 feet. 24 feet, 6-foot terrace and a sidewalk, depending on how big you make it, I'm going to lose between 10 and 12 feet of the driveway I can use. If you make the road in front of my house 28 feet, I only lose about 6. I would rather have you make the road in front of my house 28 feet, down where the sheriff lives. I'm not sure what the address is. If you put a sidewalk and that terrace in there, they're not going to hardly be able to park a car in their driveway legally. Make the road 24 feet there. But why force the sidewalk on us? We don't need it. Thank you.
Thanks, John. All right, that's all I had signed up for this evening. Was there anyone else present this evening that didn't get a chance to sign up that wished to speak under citizen comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda this evening, we have 3 items. We have the Council and Committee of the Whole minutes for December 2nd, 2019, and also applications for operators licenses for the term of July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2021. If there are no questions on the consent agenda, I'll entertain any action from the council.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion on the motion? If none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. On to new business item number 1. Consider and take action on the acceptance of donation to the fire department. We brought this information at the last committee of the whole by Fire Chief Randy Kane that Doris Dingy would like to donate $4,000 to the fire department with an intended use of having a historical display in the future fire station. Her father, Henry Krenz, was a member of the fire department from 1931 to 1951. Chief did inform me that we have a guest present this evening. That is Don Robbins, and he'd like to get up and say a few words, if that's all right with the council.
Thank you. I think you pretty much said all what I was going to say. So my mother's very pleased to present this check to Randy and the fire department, and would just like to extend her thanks, and certainly from the community, thanks for all the things that the fire department does do on behalf of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, unless there's any questions on this, we'd need a motion to accept the donation.
Make a motion to accept the donation, $4,000 for the fire department.
Second.
Motion in 2 seconds to accept the donation of $4,000 to the fire department from the Doris Dingy family. Any discussion on that? If none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Donation's been accepted. Thank you again. Item number 2, consider and take action on donation from Columbus Historic Landmarks and Preservation Commission, CHLPC, for the pavilion exterior painting project. This is a project that was reviewed at the Committee of the Whole. Information was submitted. I believe the recommendation from the HLPC was that Roberts Brothers Painting would be selected for the project, and that would be in the amount of $49,750. Those funds would be donated to the HLPC to cover the cost by the Merle Gunther Foundation. Any questions on this one? We have Carolyn Fredericks here, I believe, for any questions. Okay, no questions. I'll entertain any action from the council then.
Make a motion to accept the donation from the Columbus Historic Landmarks and Preservation Commission for the pavilion exterior painting project.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the donation from the CHLPC for the painting of the pavilion project. Is there any discussion on that motion? If there is no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, thank you. Then on to item number 3, which is consider and take action on the donation from Columbus Historic Landmarks and Preservation Commission again for the pavilion window restoration project. I believe the recommendation there was for the Thoughtful Craftsman Community Building and Restoration Company submitted a proposal. Trying to find the total amount here. $53,580 to restore the windows. Any questions on this one? Carolyn is available to answer them. If there are no questions, I'll entertain any action from the council on new business number 3.
I'll make a motion to accept the donation from the Columbus Historic Landmarks and Preservation Commission for pavilion window restoration project.
All right, we have a motion, a second, to accept the donation from CHLPC for the pavilion window restoration project. Any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 4, consider and take action to approve memorandum of understanding MOU with Kestrel Ridge to connect to the city's storm sewer. That should actually be between Kestrel Ridge and also Hoffman, I believe. I know there was some discussion at the committee of the whole about adding the language into the MOU so that it did represent both of the parties instead of just Kestrel as it first came in. Ed, I think you had the most concern about that. Were you able to review the updated MOU?
I believe it's satisfactory. If the city attorney signed off on it after my comments, and I'm fine with that then.
Okay. Any other questions on the MOU from council? If there's no questions, I'll entertain any action on new business number 4 then.
I'll move to approve the memorandum of understanding between Columbus Kestrel Golf Properties LLC and William N. Hoffman and Julia C. Hoffman for connection to the city storm sewer.
Excuse me, do you actually have the microphones on?
Second.
Yeah. Have a motion and a second to approve the MOU between Kestrel Ridge, Hoffman, and the connection of the city storm sewer. Any discussion on that? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? New business item number 5, consider and take possible action of resolution 27-19, resolution accepting certain improvements from Drexel Building Supply Incorporated. I believe this is, let's see, the first part of the memo, the top half, which would be, let's see, to accept outlot 1, or is it outlot 3?
It's outlot 1.
Outlot 1, okay, that is correct.
Excuse me.
That would be for the stormwater pond.
That is correct.
Okay. Any questions on this? It did go through the committee of the whole for review. And the resolution is in the packet. If there's no questions on new business item number 5, I would entertain any action from the council on resolution 27-19.
Motion to approve resolution 27-19 to accept the certain improvements from the Drexel Building Supply, Inc.
Second.
A motion is second to approve resolution 27-19, resolution accepting certain improvements from the Drexel Building Supply Incorporated. Is there any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6 is part of the same memo, I believe, the bottom half, which would be the extension for certain terms of the developer's agreement for Drexel Building Supply. This was reviewed at the Committee of the Whole as well. I think there were 2 items on there that created the need for the extensions, item number 9 and number 3, for some landscaping and some paving. Attorney Johnson, did you have anything to add to this?
Just a couple things, Mayor. If I remember correctly from the conversation at the Committee of the Whole, there was some back and forth between the council members as to the request for the extension of time for paving. And the original request from the developers for a 4-year extension. And if I remember correctly, again, the council was batting around shorter periods of time, going all the way down to a potential of a 1-year extension instead of the 4 that is being requested. The choice is yours as to exactly how long you want to grant that extension if you choose to do so. I did have a conversation with the developer's attorney this afternoon, and he was asking if he needed to come down to the meeting tonight to explain the developer's position on this. And I told him I didn't really think so, telling them what I just reiterated to you. And he did tell me that the developer can live with a 1-year extension on the paving issue. However, they don't plan to pave at all next year. But they would come back at the end of next year and give an update as to exactly what they're doing. He firmly believes that before they finish that last building, it's going to be maybe 3 or 4 years before they get done, which is why they asked for 4 years at the beginning. So that was his position, and I thought I'd share that with you as you make your decision.
Thank you, Paul. I think the intent maybe was just to look for that update rather than just granting that 5 years without knowing what they're...
Which is what I told him.
Okay, great. Further questions from the council on that? What is the will of the council? Go ahead.
Oh, I believe in their plan, and I'm truly fine either way. I just want there to be some sort of requirement for them to just check in on an annual basis. But I'm fine with giving a general nod for 5 years.
I guess we have to formalize the motion.
Well, that was
Okay,
well, I was making
okay,
a
okay,
discussion.
okay, all right. Ian, did you have a question? Or?
I think the best way to make sure that they do check in is to make it a 1-year extension, so that they come forward with their plans and we know what's going on. I think if we do 5 years, there is no measure in here for any sort of, that would just be a handshake and a nod, and I don't think that's the way the city should conduct business. So I would be okay with a 1-year extension, and then they can come back to us with their plans if they need further extensions.
All right.
Yeah, I would be fine with doing the 1 year within general understanding that it would most likely be a 5-year plan.
Any other questions or comments from the council? If none, would someone like to form that into a potential motion?
You can actually break this into 2 motions if you like, because you do have 2 separate issues here. The landscaping request, the July 1 of 2020, and then the asphalt extension as to however long you choose.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to grant an extension till July 1 of 2020 for the landscaping improvements.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to grant a developer agreement extension for July 1, 2020 for the landscaping items in the developer's agreement. Any discussion on that? If none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Then we would need a motion on the other item, which is the asphalt.
I'll make a motion to give an extension for the asphalt placement to the developer's agreement for another 1 year.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to grant an extension for the landscaping or the paving terms of the developer's agreement for Drexel. Is there any discussion on that motion? If none, all those, did you have a question?
Is that 1 year from today's date, or 1 year from when are we talking?
Thank you.
That was my question as well.
When does it currently end? The end of this year?
I don't, they requested September 24 of 2024, I believe. Making it good through today or December 1st would probably be appropriate. Asphalt plants generally close down around end of November anyway. So that would probably be a good time for them to come back in and make a request.
So I'll amend my motion to add a date of December 1st.
I have a motion and a second to amend the original motion to include the date of December 1st for the extension. Any discussion on that? If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Thank you. On to item number 7, consider and take action on resolution 23-19 to set fees for building inspections. Excuse me. This was reviewed at the committee of the whole. These fees would be enacted, I believe, January 1st, 2020. We have the fee schedule in the packet, and we need to approve the resolution to approve those fees to start January 1, 2020. I don't believe there are a lot of questions about this at the committee of the whole. I think most of the fee adjustments are minimal, that they hadn't been adjusted in quite some time. So, any questions or discussion on this item? If there's no questions or discussion, I'll entertain any action on new business number 7.
I'll move that we approve Resolution 2319, adopting the building inspection fee schedule effective January 1, 2020.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 23-19 to set fees for building inspections. Is there any discussion on the motion? If there is no discussion on the motion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. On to item number 8. Consider and take action on ordinance 752-19, an ordinance to create sections 18-31 through 18-36 of the City of Columbus Code of Ordinances concerning building regulations. This has been reviewed several times by the council. These are certain sections that need to be adopted and put in place by January 1st, 2020. There will be more comprehensive review of the building code pending beyond that. Let's see, sections 1833 through 1835 is the city is giving the building inspector the authority to review commercial building plans instead of having the state review commercial plans as is currently in place. By giving the city inspector its authority, it will allow for these plans to be reviewed faster and at a lower cost. Okay. Any discussion or questions on this item?
Would this be something we need to suspend the rules and waive the reading?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So if the council desires to adopt this ordinance, the first thing we would need is a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Rules have been suspended. Next, we would need a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to waive reading. Any discussion on that? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Reading has been waived. Then finally, we can take a motion to approve ordinance 752-19.
Motion to approve Ordinance 752-19, an ordinance to create sections 18-31 through 18-36 of the City of Columbus Code of Ordinances concerning building regulations.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 752-19 as read. Is there any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, could we please take a roll call, Pat?
Gray,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Ryan. Traxler.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. On to item number 9. There was an updated memo for your packet. I believe interim administrator wanted to identify some funding to go along with these items. I think this may be another situation where we could break this into 2 separate motions to be a little bit more clear, if the council desires to do that. The first part of the memo is for Fisher Brothers for the body slide repairs, in the amount of $29,015. And then the second part is for Polytech Midwest for the redecking, the cement decking repairs and crack repairs for the amount of $6,748. What is the will of the council on this? Would you want to do them as one motion or separate? One motion, okay. Any questions? Sorry, David, go ahead.
Mayor, at the last committee of the whole, the finance director prepared a compilation of funds on hand from previous borrowings, et cetera, that are funds in the capital projects fund. And the 2017 GO note that was approved by the city to make various street improvements and pool improvements, the improvements at the pool have been completed. And in checking with our bond council, they could be used for these improvements in 2020. Again, they're funds on hand that you have. The balance is $57,518. The 2 quotes that you have before you for the 2 projects at the pool, the slide restoration from Fisher Brothers and the cement decking repairs submitted by Polytech Midwest. The total is $35,763. So it's recommendation of staff is that if the council wants to go ahead and approve those contracts, we understand that was discussed, that there is a need for a timely process here because of getting these projects going in the spring. That's why the mayor presented it tonight for action. But again, the fund balance here and the fund balance that you have could be used to pay for these contracts in 2020. There's a balance of $57,518, and what you're considering between these 2 contracts is a total of $35,763.
Thank you for identifying those unused funds for us. Appreciate that. Any questions from the council on this? All right. If there are no questions on that, I'll entertain any action then on new business number 9.
Motion to approve the slide restoration using Fisher Brothers and the cement decking repairs with Polytech Midwest for a total cost of $763 from the GO note fund balance.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the municipal pool slide restoration and cement decking repairs, as mentioned in the motion, for the total amount of $35,763 to come from remaining 2017 GO note fund balance. Any discussion on the motion? Katie? Oh, sorry. If there's no further discussion, could we please take a roll call, Pat?
Johnson.
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Traxler.
Aye.
Gray.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. On to item number 10, consider and take action on functional classification update for Columbus urban area. This is a document that was given to us by Matt Schreiber, our planning director. The DOT has to do this every 10 years, from my understanding, to coincide with the U.S. Census analysis of urban and urbanized areas, but can be updated at any time. I think the one thing Matt had mentioned when this was first put in front of the council was the map is actually larger than the city of Columbus, and that we would likely only want to be approving the city of Columbus portion of this map, that the DOT is in contact with Fall River to work with them for their share of this region. So if there's any questions, Matt is here. Matt, did you want to say anything, or? Okay. If there are no questions on item number 10, I'd entertain any action from the council.
I'll move that we approve the functional classification update for the Columbus urban area as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the functional classification update for the Columbus urban area. Any discussion on that? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. On to item number 11. We have a list of appointed election clerks for the 2020-2021 election cycle. State statute requires that every even-numbered year new terms begin, and the mayor of each municipality shall nominate to the governing body election workers for each voting district to be approved before December 31st of the odd-numbered year. There is a list of 34 names that's been presented in the packet. Any questions for Clerk Gable on this? I have one. Pat, once these people are approved, if you need additional clerks, can you have them appointed in the interim in the next 2 years?
Yes, I can make appointments at any time.
Okay, all right, thank you. If there's no questions on this item, I'll entertain any action on new business number 11.
Make a motion to appoint the election clerks for 2020 through 2021's election cycle with the list of names presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the appointment of the election clerks for the 2020-2021 election cycle as presented. Any discussion on that? If none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 12. Consider and take action on the senior center director wage. The director's wage was not adjusted to 2019 budgeted amount after a successful performance review January 14th, 2019. The year-end cost to the city is a total of $994, but we need to take official action to approve that here. Any discussion on this? If there's no discussion or questions on this, entertain any action on new business number 12.
I'll make a motion to approve the wage adjustment for the senior center director for total cost $994.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the wage adjustment for the senior center director in the amount read. Any discussion on that? If there's no discussion, could we please take a roll call, Pat?
Reed.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Traxler.
Aye.
Gray.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 13, something that came to the committee of the whole but did not have a memo. Interim Administrator David Berner has put together a memo kind of outlining the intent of this, which is agenda and packet preparation of city council packets. We just wanted to formalize this so it's a policy that we can work with in the interim with David, city council, to efficiently put together packets for council distribution in a timely manner. Any questions on this? Dave can answer them, but I think it was pretty much understood at the committee of the whole. We just wanted to have something in writing here. If If there are no questions, I'll entertain any action on new business number 13.
I'll move that we approve the new agenda and packet preparation process.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the new packet and agenda preparation and process for the council packets. Is there any discussion on that?
I'd like to thank the interim city administrator for developing this process and creating the efficiencies that this is going to create for you and subsequent administrators, hopefully. I think it's a good idea, well thought out, and will benefit us greatly. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, we did have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, on to number 14, consider and take action on claims in the amount of $954,092.56. Are there any questions on the city claims? If there are no questions on the city claims in the amount read, I'll entertain any action from the council.
Make a motion to approve the claims in the amount of $954,092.56.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve city claims in the amount read. Any discussion on that? If there's no discussion, Pat, could we please take a roll call?
Ryan,
Aye.
Traxler.
Aye.
Gray.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. On to report of city officers. David, did you have anything you wanted to share with us this evening?
Just a couple, Mayor and Council. The position announcement for the city administrator treasurer position was posted on Friday, and the promotion video is on the website. So I'd encourage you to look at that. So we have started the process of casting a net as we had outlined and the council had approved. So we've started the process. So we'll keep you posted as we move forward and what that all entails as far as your work on selecting the best candidate for the next administrator treasurer. As I reported, I've been giving you my written weekly reports. I've been prioritizing working with the confidential administrative assistant, Kaylin, to review the job description and what her responsibilities, tasks have been in this current organization plan. And we've been working on a couple of drafts of the job description. That's what the mayor and you had asked me to do in my interim role. So we have a draft. I'm going to look at it tomorrow again and review it with the mayor, and if he's okay with it, then we'll post the position and we'll start that process. Because as you know, she's retiring, and she's extended that retirement to the end of January, which I think was a relief for all of us. It gave me more time to do this assessment, and she's been great to work with. So I just wanted you to know that we're going forward with that. A big item that we had talked about at the council at the last special meeting, is reviewing the capital projects for 2020. And the projects that would be potentially on a borrowing for this year. And what you've asked me to do, and what I'm working on following up on, is looking at all of the funds that are on hand that can be carried forward to pay for projects in 2020. And there's various sources of that, and so I've been working with the finance director to put that together and work with her and the staff and bring forward a presentation and draft capital budget for 2020 at your first regular meeting in January. So that's all I have for now. Do you have any questions? All right. Thank you.
Which is exceptional for a Tuesday evening, I think. The Columbus Fall River Food Pantry was presented a check for $4,500. In addition, $1,437 and 850 pounds of food were collected at the event. I just wanted to thank, again, all the different city departments and staff that support this event annually to bring people to the community to help support this this event, as well as all the local civic organizations and volunteers that help out. And I did want to recognize our Recreation Director, Amy Jo Myers, for stepping up to help coordinate meetings and logistics this year a little bit more than normal. I was not able to be as involved as I have been in previous years. Excuse me. And then being our last regular City Council meeting for 2019, I wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday season and extend my gratitude to everyone for the time they've committed to the city over this past year. That's all I had. Anyone up here have anything to add? Ian?
I would, excuse me, I would just like to thank all the members, all the residents of the Hibbard Street area for continuing to come in front of the council. And after hearing from them both at meetings and outside of meetings, my position hasn't changed, and I would really like the council I would urge the council to listen to the residents that are most affected by this and take that into consideration as we move forward with the Hibbard Street project.
Thank you, Ian. Anything else? If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned for a few minutes. Return with the Committee of the Whole shortly. Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome back to the Columbus Common Council Committee of the Whole. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's Tuesday, December 17th. It is now 7:30 p.m. Pat, if you could please take a roll call.
Gray,
Present.
Johnson.
Here.
Reed. Ryan.
Here.
Tyland is excused. Tome. Traxler.
Here. All right, this meeting was noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances. First thing we need to do is approve the agenda. I have one change. I want to move number 7 down to after number 10.
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the changes that were stated.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with the change of moving 7 to after number 10. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. Next up, we have citizen comments on agenda items. Are there any citizens signed up? I'm seeing none. Any citizens present that would wish to speak? I'm not seeing any either. First thing up then is to number 5, department reports. We have the police report for November of 2019, the Department of Public Works report for November of 2019, Treasurer's report for November of 2019, and the Fire Department report for November of 2019. Any comments or questions about the department reports? Seeing none. Next up, committee minutes. I have Rec Committee for October 14th of 2019. The library has submitted several minutes. April 16th, May 21st, June 18th, July 16th, August 20th, and September 17th, all of 2019. And then the next one will be the Streetlight Committee, December 11th, 2019. Questions or comments on the committee minutes? Seeing none. First up then, number 8, speaking of Streetlight Committee, discuss Streetlight Committee recommendation for additional streetlights to the Hibbard reconstruction project. And Zach is coming to the podium. He must be on the Streetlight Committee then?
I recently learned I am the president of the Streetlight
Oh,
Committee.
excellent. Yes. President, it's a title that you may
Add
not
one more
want.
add one more hat for it.
Yes.
So through this Hibbert Street reconstruction project, it was the appropriate time to look at the street lighting there. There has been, through the public information meetings and citizen comments, safety concerns on that street. So we felt like this is a good time to address some of that. Staff at Columbus Water and Light made the recommendation that streetlights be considered at each intersection of Hibbert Street to be uniform with the rest of the city. The Streetlight Committee reviewed the recommendation and made the recommendation to move forward with 5 of the 6 streetlights that were brought forward by Columbus Water and Light. As I said, it's kind of make everything uniform. The fiscal impact, there's no initial cost associated with these lights. These are lights that came off of James Street before it was redone, so they will match the current lights that are on the street. And there's only one pole that needs to be set by Water and Light. The rest are poles that are already in place. So the only fees that we'll see annually will be the cost of the charge per light, which over a year for the 5 lights is $800. And then you can see the recommended locations of those lights along with the map.
Okay. Thanks, Zach. Yeah, definitely. I like the idea of improving the lighting in that area. It will certainly help with pedestrian safety in that neighborhood once everything is reconstructed. Ed?
So 5 of 6 begs the question, why the 6th one if they were recommending it? Why not?
It was one that Mr. Hammer had put on the list, but didn't feel too strongly about. If you look at your map, it's kind of tough to see, but it's got a black X through the red circle, and it's also not at an intersection. That one was one that was not, so we just went with the ones that were at the intersection. We felt that it was going to be lit well enough based on the other 5 and the ones that are already there.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, go ahead and move that one forward for approval then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, number 9. Discuss city's organizational chart. We did get a memo in our mailbox about this. There is, with everything that's going on with the current vacancy of the city administrator, and just, and just how the organizational chart is as a whole for the city, it's probably a really good time to take a look at it. Mayor prepared talking points here in your packet. So I don't know if anybody had anything they wanted to kick off here. Mike, go ahead.
I just wanted to bring this forward before the turn of the year. As I said in the memo, I think we've talked the last couple of years about possibly including an adopted or updated organizational chart in the annual budget process, and that hadn't happened. So I think just getting the current organizational chart in front of us and adopting that hopefully at the next regular meeting gives us the starting point for the newest city administrator, and probably further discussions with the new administrator about any reorganizational issues or anything like that. The one thing I didn't really consider when I first saw the current draft, which I'm not really looking to mess with at this time, was we don't have the court on here yet, I don't believe, do we? So I think that's probably something that we would want to add. I don't know exactly where you put it, but something to consider in the future. Attorney Johnson?
I actually think that is a separate and independent branch that doesn't really report to council or the mayor.
Okay.
So I'm not exactly sure where you would put it either. Maybe down in the lower right-hand corner all by itself.
A little island?
Okay. Or potentially, wouldn't it be a third box at the top to demonstrate its co-equality?
That could be a potential as well. Yeah, but it does not report to anybody or any other office, let's put it that way.
Except for the
As
budget.
arguably neither do the mayor or city council as constructed, so I think so that there aren't any hurt feelings, it should be at the top.
Trina, go ahead.
I just had a question for discussion later on whether we want to keep the confidential administrative assistant position, or if that should become a general human resources person in the future. Just something to look into in the future.
Go ahead, Mike. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think something to discuss. I agree with that. As far as what you were saying about the court, Ed, we approve the budget of the court, so I think there's got to be some type of connection.
I beg to differ. I've had a conversation with the district court administrator who pointed this section of statutes out to me where it is codified that the court is a co-equal branch of the government, and so I think visually we should demonstrate its co-equality by putting it at the top line. I understand we approve their budget and like we approve our own, but I think for visual purposes it would best be listed up top.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that part, but I think there just has to be some type of mention of it on this chart, however it needs to be. Anyone else? Mike, go ahead.
I'm not sure who created the organizational chart or who has the ability to edit or amend or whatever. I think the point here is that we at least acknowledge this moving forward, since we haven't acknowledged this in my time here, as a starting point, and then we can work on that in the future as well, if there's positions that change or titles that change, et cetera. But was just hoping that we could bring this forward and memorialize it at the beginning of the year. This has been provided to PAA as a piece of information, obviously, that any city administrator would want to look at to see what the organizational structure is. So,
And I notice it's not really quite complete for 2020 since we added the part-time or the shared assistant with senior center and rec. So we need to make sure whenever that, I don't know if that needs to be added before we move it forward for approval to go into 2020, or if that's something we can adjust as we move into 2020. Go ahead, Katie.
Just an observation I kind of noticed, just in a lot of areas, So it'll say, for example, under water and light meter readers, parentheses 2, we don't have a number of school crossing guards listed when there's everything else sort of, when there's more than one, it seems to have the number of them in parentheses. That's just observation.
Yeah, good catch. Anyone else?
I don't see a treasurer on here. Or am I just missing it?
Let's, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, Mayor Tom, I don't know what your plan was for this. Did you want us to make edits to this now, or do you want us to approve it as is and then work with the new city administrator once they're hired to make these changes? Or I don't know if David was gonna make any changes.
I don't know if we have the ability to edit this heavily or not, just being the size of the document. If we wanted to go through everything and get it up to date, David, I mean, I would rely on your experience as to what we should be doing. I just wanted to have something out there so we have something adopted by the council, that we recognize what our current organizational structure is, whether it's 100% perfect and up to date, or it's something that we're going to be working on in the future. I'm not sure.
Well, I think it's good, Mayor, to acknowledge this and establish it. It's a good start for the next administrator. I could work with you to update this so it reflect, you just pointed out a couple of changes to update it. I could do that. As you said, the new job description, city administrator treasurer, one of the requirements is to prepare a organizational plan for the council and keep that up to date annually. And it is a good practice to have that included in the budget document every year, along with your position count. It's just good practice to have that and have that information. So if you want me to, I will. Or you could just acknowledge this is where you're at right now, and this would be a handoff to the next administrator to work with you to prepare the organizational plan.
I guess I'd leave that up to the council somewhat. I mean, I don't know how much time we want to put into this right now. I think it's just adopting it for the first time as a council is what I'm looking for, to say here's where we are. It's up to the council, I guess.
Trina?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that I'd like to have the conversation sooner rather than later on the administrative assistant position, because that is going to come up so fast, and our new city administrator will need to know whether he has his own assistant or if it's a shared person to be a human resources for all. I mean, we can't do that tonight, but just to put that out there.
Ian?
Right. I definitely understand and agree with that point, but I agree with the mayor that we should just adopt this as it is for now and rely on altering it and moving forward and as we need to with the new administrator.
Adopting this doesn't mean that we can only hire a confidential administrative assistant. It's just, we're just adopting it as it currently is, and I'm okay with that approach as well, because I know there needs to be some changes to this, and it can be changed as we move forward, and especially with the new city administrator, they can, they could come in here and organize it however they think is best as well. So, but for that job, I mean, that's with the Kalen's job, that administrative assistant job, that job description is going to come through council at some point, and we're going to be able to review it and make those changes, and that'll just coincide at some point with this document. Ed?
I agree that in my opinion, this should reflect where we are now. As of this moment in time, the confidential administrative assistant exists in the right place. I guess I would like to see, since I assume this was done on a software program, whatever minor tweaks that we've talked about here tonight, such as the treasurer, such as the municipal judge that we have, I'd like to, and I think it would still be able to be brought back to the next meeting if we need to approve it at the next meeting, or we choose to approve it at the next meeting. I don't think it's that difficult to make some minor tweaks to this. If I'm wrong, I would greatly be willing to stand corrected, but I think I would like to see something that, since we're passing it, the first time, let's at least get it right the way we are as of today. And it obviously can be modified at any council meeting.
Mike, you have anything else?
I can work with David between now and the meeting on the 7th, just to try to tweak those things like had been mentioned. That should be easy. My concern was I don't have the software. I don't know how this is created, so I don't want to create a burden and then have this hung up for 2 months figuring out how to edit it. But I can work with David on that.
If it would create a burden, we can work with this with a Sharpie, as mentioned.
Okay.
Hopefully it's easy to modify. Not to create in the first place, to make modifications, hopefully not.
All right, I can work with Dave, and we can see if we can just get it brought up to where we are
Okay.
today, I guess, for the next meeting.
Anything else? On number 9. Okay. Thanks, guys. Number 10, continue discussion on the possible addition of the village of Lowell and Reeseville to the Columbus area emergency services area. I don't know. There was a letter in our packet from village president Jeff Slotin, explaining where the board has landed. I don't know if Mike, did you have something to add, or Dave? Either one?
I thought that the summary that we included in here kind of hit on all the points that Dave and I had brought up when we met with Jeff. I think the main concern I had heard out of the council was the original intent seemed to be more geared towards them having an independent agreement with all of the existing members of the CAEMS, as opposed to having Lifestar go out and have an independent agreement with them. So from my understanding, the intent here is that the agreement we've had in place will remain in place, which I think is the most important part we were concerned about. I thought the meeting went well. I think that everybody understands that this year is going to be is going to tell us what level of service, as long as Lifestar can achieve the level of service we've had in the past. There probably won't be too many concerns, but it's going to be up to Lifestar to prove that. So,
yeah, my 2 cents on this is I think they're gonna give us a 40-cent per capita credit. However, 40 cents per capita credit isn't worth a life to me. If we have a call in what's that town out there? Otsego, thank you. And we have a call in Lowell or at the same time, and we have a call coming in Columbus, who's going to respond? So that's the issue I have with this, and I don't think it's worth 40 cents. So go ahead, Dave.
My understanding from the fire chief is that they're required in their agreement to have an ambulance here to respond to 911 calls at all times.
Right.
So if they're responding to a call outside the city, they're required by contract to keep a unit here. Is that right? That's what I understand from the fire chief.
Okay.
I guess the other point I would, that the president made, is that the villages of Lowell and Reeseville, obviously they're smaller villages, and by adding them to the district, they're responding to that village. They're not responding to the town or the rural area around them. So, but I think the main point, in my opinion, is that the terms of the contract with the city of Columbus remain the same.
Okay.
And they're obligated to fulfill that. And I understand they have another year yet on that, so that will be coming up for review and so forth this next year.
And is the, do they meet monthly? Are there board meetings monthly? Because I know we get, or is it
I don't
quarterly?
know.
Because I know we get a report occasionally. I don't know how often for that group that lists the number of calls missed that they weren't able to respond to based off of the current contract.
From Lifestar or from the district? The district?
It's
Board?
Lifestar. I think is it Lifestar?
Lifestar gives you a report.
Yeah,
monthly.
so my recommendation and advice for council is to please pay close attention to that report once the services do begin going to those two locations. You know, maybe nothing happens, but we had a resident that was here 2 weeks ago, or I think it was 2 weeks ago, that had a very similar situation than what I was concerned about originally, and they had to wait a while to get to Madison from Columbus. So
There needs
I
to
have
be
some new information on
Yeah.
that, as long as you brought that up.
Oh,
If
excellent.
you want
Yes,
me to share
please.
that with you. What I understand, I talked to the chief, and the regional contact with Lifestar called me, and he's also one of your firefighters. I'm sorry, I forget his name, but what I understand is that this lady that appeared drove her husband to the hospital.
Okay.
He was not taken there by our ambulance. And the the assessment there by the medical professionals, as she said, was that he needed to go to the Madison hospital. He later had surgery. And the chief informed me, and I had that confirmed, that that is the responsibility of the hospital to transfer that patient to wherever. That was not the responsibility of our service. And the chief said they did the right thing because they kept an ambulance unit in the city to respond to 911 calls. That's the agreement.
great
They
news.
they
Okay.
can't send a transfer out and then compromise the service for 911 in the city.
That
So
was
that's
my
why-
number one
that's-
concern. So if that is the case, then that's great.
But yeah, that was a piece of information that I confirmed, and that he was at the hospital and they made the determination he needed, higher level care to the hospital in, I think it was St. Mary's in Madison, and they have their agreement. The hospitals have their agreements to take care of that situation.
That's good information. Thank you. Very helpful. Mike?
I just wanted to say I spoke with the chief today as well, and he brought this issue up and explained it to me as well. I wasn't aware at the time when Beth came in and made the comment. I didn't know what the agreement was, but the chief was able to explain that very clearly to me as well. So
Excellent.
Okay.
Great. Well, that alleviated a lot of my concerns then. Ian?
So, am I coming to the correct understanding that once they start providing services to Lowell and Reeseville, even if there's a 911 call in Lowell and or Reeseville, and one of our ambulances is out, they will not respond to Lowell or Reeseville because they have to keep that here for our district for a 911 call? Or is it allowed to go to Lowell and Reeseville for a 911 call, and then we're still left without an ambulance?
My understanding, I think we better look at the contract, but my understanding is they have to keep a unit here to respond to your 911 calls.
Right, but would Lowell and Reeseville be included in that response? Or would it be separate from, say we have one ambulance and we get a 911 call from Lowell and or Reeseville, can they dispatch that one ambulance? Or does it have to remain for a call in our district?
I'll find out.
Okay,
I'll
I think
find
that's
out for
really
sure.
the only
Okay.
missing variable.
And the other aspect of this is the mutual aid agreements that you have with the other services, and that goes back and forth too. So
Yeah, and just kind of piggybacking off what Ian said, so I would just like clarification as well. So if an ambulance is responding here in town to, say, a 911 call or a situation or emergency, and then there's a call coming in from Reesville or Lowell, and our ambulance is already in use, is that what you were saying?
Right.
Okay. So even if there's an ambulance here in town, but it's already tied up, I'm just curious if another one will be dispatched at that time. Out of town.
Okay. Thanks, Katie.
I'll find out. I'll find out.
Okay.
Okay, let you know. I don't want to say something I'm not 100% sure about, so. We must have a contract here. I'll dig it up and look at it, and now that I have a regional contact with Lifestar, I'll call him and talk to him about it, and I'll report back at the next meeting.
And what action are you looking from council tonight?
I don't know, after talking with Jeff, that there is any official action required. It's just giving you the update to say this is what the CAEMS group has decided, and kind of giving us an update on how this would work. They hadn't determined any official format that they wanted to push out to villages and municipalities to take action on, so they haven't gotten that yet.
Okay.
It is a bit more informal than I would like, and Jeff acknowledged that as well, but they just weren't getting any information back from their attorney on what they should be doing formally. So I think that's why I felt more comfortable knowing that our terms and conditions of our original agreement were still in place, that we weren't waiving those. So
okay.
I don't know that there is anything. I think Jeff said if there was something that came up in January, they could bring that to all the different municipalities.
Right, I think it's a board decision, and this is serving as an assurance from the president of that board that by adding these two communities, they're not compromising service to the city, and the terms of the agreement are still in place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any further discussion on the letter from Village President Jeff Slotin regarding the Village of Lowell and Reesville to the CAEMS area? Seeing none. Okay. There's no action needed. Nothing to move forward at this time. Next up then is number 7, going back in time, to continue review of ordinance to create Chapter 20 of the City of Columbus Code. Paul, what do you have tonight? Looks like there is a red line version of the code in our packets tonight. I don't know if these were the changes that Ed had mentioned, or this is new.
This is more new than anything else, and this is actually my first revision following comments from staff that you are looking at here. Just to kind of reset this whole issue, the property as part of redoing your building code, whenever you get around to doing that, I'm also proposing that you create a separate chapter for your property maintenance code, just so it's not part of the building code anymore. So there's not a big rush on the property maintenance code discussion, but it will need to go hand in hand with your building code analysis and adoption whenever that comes around. But what is before you is our existing property maintenance code with a couple of minor tweaks, and then 2 additions that I identified in the memo that is in your packet as well. There's one additional change that I will need to make as we go forward, in that your Director of Public Works was most incensed by me taking away his title of Weed Commissioner, so he has requested that be put back into the ordinance. So I will be doing that with your request, or with your approval in the future. That will come in on section 20-08 F. When we get to that point, with your permission, of course. Otherwise, this is just here for your first review and to decide how you would like to move this forward over time. Either send it to your committee to go along with the building code review, or if you wanted to start parsing it now. Ed? Here.
Do we have weed commissioner identified anywhere else in our code?
Yes, we do actually. He is in there someplace.
Okay, so this isn't tabula rasa, that weed commissioner first appears.
No, that is correct.
Okay, very good. As long as he's identified and thus eligible to be the weed commissioner. Very good, thank you.
20-08F is, there's a red line of the weed commissioner right there, so there's reference. Yep.
There's reference to the weed commissioner, but you need to appoint the weed commissioner
Right.
somewhere
Oh.
else
Yes.
in order to have him be.
If I remember correctly, it's in chapter 2 someplace.
Sounds great.
If I remember right.
Okay.
So
Go ahead, Ian.
it's here for your review. That's all I have.
Just a real quick thing on section 20-02. It is limiting property only to the structure. So I don't believe that should be limited to a structure. It should be the entire property, because there are things outside of the structure of a home that could fall under this. Like there could be infestations that are have nothing to do with the house itself. So I think we need to reword that and re-include premises instead of just structures.
Okay. Nope.
So I think we had an issue maybe in recent past about a litter control. And in the litter control section, it lists it as a premises. So, and a number on B. So does that need to be changed then, or is that?
Yeah, I should make the change up here, where Ian was pointing out in 22, it should be residential, non-residential structures and premises. And then that will bring everything back in. One area that we have been discussing at staff, and again, this is more of a Zach issue than anything else, is the acceptable length of lawn. And that is in 20-08C. Right now, you have, right now, your ordinance says that if the lawn is less than 5 acres, it can be a foot high. I brought it down to 6 inches, and DPW is suggesting that it be 8 inches. Yeah, you have this version here is not the most recent one that I've got on my desk, but so for your consideration is number one, 5 acres. I mean, that's a very large lawn. And that also, when you think about 5 acres and you look at Commerce Center, that basically requires those lots not to be mowed at all, which is how this whole conversation started. So you might want to put some thinking into that. And then your second question is, for your normal residential lots, is a foot a good length? 8 inches, 6 inches? I don't know. That's a municipality by municipality standard.
And I think perhaps instead of having the size of a lawn, having any property within the city limits of Columbus. Like, I don't care if it's 5 acres or 0.25 acres, it should be mowed if it's within the city. Like, so I think if it's in the city limits, who cares about the size? And I would agree 8 inches. I think anything more than that is obscene.
I just agreed that 8 inches sounds appropriate. I think if you go 6, I think you might get people, sometimes I think weeds can grow a lot faster than grass and things like that, so I think 8 is a better compromise than going to 6. So, just my perspective.
Trina?
8 sounds pretty good, pretty reasonable. That could be 3 days of dandelions, depending on the season, but yeah, it sounds pretty reasonable. And then for a foot, that gets kind of tricky to then even bring down with a regular lawnmower.
That's an excellent point, because in some of these cases, just like the snow removal, if a resident has a 12-inch long lawn, and they don't choose to take care of it, and they're issued, a warning that DPW will come take care of it, that's just more work, I think, for them. So I think 8 inches is much better.
Okay. I'm a little confused on this section, because my understanding, if we're looking at the 12 inches, this is in 2808 sub C, is that correct?
Yes.
A natural lawn exception, which would not be a turf grass lawn, so this would be more of a native planting type?
Right, the actual length of grass is in a different section altogether. So, and I should have mentioned that first, but so basically the natural lawn kicks in where the turf lawn stops. So right now it's at a foot. And that's what the reference that you see there, I think is that the natural lawn kicks in over 12 inches, and we're bringing that down to 8.
Oh, okay. Which would be a turf grass.
Right.
Okay.
So your regular yard will be allowed to get up to 8, and if it's after 8, then it's going to be a violation unless you apply for the natural lawn designation.
So that this
Which-
inches would not be regulating a natural lawn?
Correct.
Okay, if you had natural plantings that were over a foot tall, that would not, okay.
If you had a permit
Okay.
and you were allowed to let your lawn go natural, then it could be as high as you wanted it.
Okay.
'Cause then you're under a different section then.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I don't know if Columbus has any intentional natural lawns. I'm sure there are some unintentional ones, but whether there are some approved, that's a different question. They were starting to be popular for a while, and then they kind of petered out, and not many people do them anymore, but.
Ed?
Do we have a fee for natural lawns in our code? It says that they shall pay the fee.
That would be in your schedule of fees someplace, and I do not know the answer to that. It should be, we've got a.
Go ahead, Ian.
Did anybody else have thoughts on like the size of lawn or anything like that? I really think any size, if it's in the city limits, I don't think there should be a size limit, all lawns.
Yeah, I agree with that. It doesn't make sense
That will,
to put an acreage on it. I also think 8 inches is good for a regular lawn. I've gone on
Kim was
vacation
working
and came
on
back and it was
I don't
6
know
or
if
8
you
inches,
realize it.
and I was only gone for
Yeah, 'cause
a week.
she has
so-
all of that stuff.
Yeah. Anybody else? Katie?
I do have a question here. In section 2004, you talk about litter, and I see litter also includes domestic animal feces. Are we talking about in somebody's lawn? I'll be, very honest with you, I don't scoop up my dog's poop every single time. I'm not out there following him around, but, you do the cleanup procedures. But I'm wondering, if that's not taken care of, is that something that Public Works is taking care of? And is there a fee associated with that? Or like what is all that?
Yeah, that, to back up a little bit, and So you know, the property maintenance complaints are dealt with on a as complained basis. DPW, police, fire, building inspector do not go around the city looking for things to hassle landowners about. If a neighbor or a resident or a citizen submits a complaint to, and I think Matt is the keeper of the complaints, if I remember correctly. But if a complaint comes in, then the property maintenance team evaluates it and decides what's the next step, course of conduct. So as far as domestic animal feces on a private residence, that's not going to be an issue unless somebody complains and says, you know, this is getting to be really bad. So it's and on the other hand, this also doesn't cover if somebody just leaves their dog droppings in the city park either. That would be a different situation.
Ian?
The definition of exterior of a premise, I don't, it's saying open space on the premises outside of any building they're on.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't seem super inclusive to me. And like, it doesn't seem, it's just the open space on the premises outside of any building they're on. Yeah.
Right, so you have the definition of premises, which is the lot, including the building or the structures.
Right.
And then you've got the it's almost not, exterior of the premises is not really even necessary.
Yeah,
If- if
yeah,
you
we
have-
should probably just get rid of that,
We could
because
just
that's
probably take
vague
that
and
out
odd.
altogether.
Yeah.
Because you're either gonna have a premises or you're gonna have a structure. I mean, those are the two.
Anything else?
I will add all these changes in and bring this back. This is committee of the whole again, as you have time. So, again, no rush on this whatsoever.
Okay. Anything else for Paul on this item? Go ahead, Mike.
Related to this item, I would like to get the ordinance code revision committee to work on this, and also with the building code. We haven't met for the first time, but I think having that first organizational meeting and maybe just setting up a consistent monthly day that works for the members to start digging into this stuff a little bit deeper, and then bringing back recommendations to the committee of the whole or to Paul would help get some of this stuff done a little bit quicker. So I'll try to work with Pat a little bit and see if we can figure out how to do a doodle poll or something like that, and maybe get something scheduled in early January for the first meeting, if that sounds good.
This would be a good one to cut your teeth on before you get into the really fun ones.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to item number 11. Convene to close session per state statute 19.85, sub 1, sub C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, performance evaluation data for any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically the administrative assistant. I would need a motion to go into closed session.
I move we go into closed session for the reasons stated.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Any discussion? Seeing none, Pat, please take the roll call.
Gray,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reed, Ryan,
Aye.
Tome, Traxler.
Okay, we will not be coming back on the air after this meeting. Thanks everybody for watching tonight, and have a happy holidays.